costly mistakes I made as a freight broker. Hold on, man. Let me take a sip of this sea moss first. This industry, I feel like I never had a guide, so I always felt like I was learning things the hard way or the most costly way. So a brokering has factoring as well, just like a carrier. We have recourse and non-recourse factoring. I'm not going to go into the detail of the difference between the two, but we actually factor our freight with the shipper. Now, on top of having recourse and non-recourse factoring, we have what we can do is establish a line of credit for the shipper. So if the shipper asks, hey, can we request a line of credit? What we would have to do, we would go to our factoring company. We would actually ask them for a credit application to give to the shipper. That shipper fills out that credit application. We send that to the factoring company, and then the factoring company is going to say that shipper is approved for a certain amount. I run into a shipper who says that they have some consistent freight for me, but they're going to have a line of credit. At this point, I should have had known something was going to be wrong. But this is kind of normal in the industry. Now, this shipper is a distributor. Now, in the logistics field, I know we call shippers, we call everybody shippers who we get freight from, but there is a difference in between shippers. You got freight forwarders, custom brokers, distributors, manufacturers. All these people, we can consider them shippers because they're shipping freight. But this person is a distributor. Now, a distributor gets their freight from manufacturers. They manufacture the freight, and then they send it to a distributor, and the distributor, gives it to us, and we actually distribute the freight. Now, the thing about this is that most of the time, distributors have a line of credit with their manufacturers. So some manufacturers actually are not paying their distributors until whatever items it is actually selling on the shelf. Now, I'm going to wrap this up, but the thing is, I got to kind of break it down so you understand what's going on. So either way it go, that distributor wants a line of credit with us because they don't get paid until the items hit the shelf, and then the manufacturer pays them, and then they can pay us. Well, my factoring company approved my distributor for $75,000 worth of credit. And it was going well at first. Sometimes the balance might get up to $10,000, and then they'll pay their balance. In this instance, what ended up happening was I didn't know it, but they wasn't paying my factoring company. So the balance got all the way up to $75,000. The factoring company is paying me. I didn't know the balance was getting this high. And then all of a sudden, the factoring company goes to my bank account and takes out $75,000. Now, I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? Why did the factoring company just take all this money from me? I call the factoring company, then they tell me that that distributor has not paid them in months. And I didn't know it, and we're moving freight for them, almost every other day. So I had to call the distributor and say, hey man, what's going on? My factoring company took the money from my bank account. They said that you guys haven't paid them, and what's going on? And they telling me, hey man, they having problems with the manufacturer. The manufacturer haven't paid them, and they can't pay me until they get paid. They just don't have the funds to pay me until they receive the money themselves. And so really, at this point, I'm kind of assed out because with my factoring company, it's not the line of credit isn't the same as the non-recourse, because of course with the non-recourse factoring, you don't have to, that factoring company has to go after the shipper, not me itself. But under this line of credit, they was able just to take the money directly from me. So now it's almost like for the past couple months, I've been paying out of my pocket to ship their freight. And on top of that, by law, they got up to 6 months, 180 days to actually pay their balance. Then guess what? The distributor files bankrupt. And guess what I get? A settlement of $55,000. And like I say, the balance was $75,000. So that left me losing $20,000. Like I say, that $20,000 was like me paying to get their freight moved for them. And I got paid the $55,000, but it took months for me to get the $55,000. I know I talked about this inside of my freight broker course, but if I didn't, I probably need to add it in there because I just be talking inside of there sometimes anyway. But with that being said, I always recommend and I tell people when it comes to dealing with shippers, never extend lines of credit. I don't care what they're approved for. Don't do it. Now, of course, I was able to write that $20,000 off when I filed my taxes. Thing is, you don't want to have to go through that. So I always recommend the broker, especially when you first starting out, never extend lines of credit with a shipper. It don't matter how established they look or they are, they can file bankrupt at any time and leave you and stick you with the bill. You know what I mean? So, and honestly, that's why I personally feel like my program is the best program out there, because not only do I tell you step by step how to actually perform the task of being a freight broker or government contractor, I tell you my actual mistakes that I made, and I tell you the hurdles that I had to come over. That way you can prepare yourself for the same thing, and you don't have to make them same mistakes. You can just learn from mine. You ain't got to go through that. All right, peace.